The only two storytelling ingredients you need to write irresistible emails. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you the exact framework to write storytelling emails that people can't stop reading. And I'm talking about the kind of emails where people forget you are even selling something because they are so hooked on the story that they can't even act on their own. Okay, and I'm going to show you the complete blueprint to give you a plug and play template that you can use, subject line formulas, transition phrases, psychological triggers, everything you need to write emails that actually get read and make sales without feeling pushy or salesy. And by the end of this video, you'll have the entire story driven email blueprint that you can use for yourself, like step by step. But before we dive into the video, okay, before we just go right into it, if you find this video valuable, hit the like button because it generally helps me know that if you have liked this video, okay, so I can make more content just like this. Now let's break this down. So the thing is, every great story driven email has two core things, okay, just two. That's it. One is a story that escalates, and two is a lesson that connects to your offer, okay, to what you're selling. So those two are the only two core ingredients that are like the basic foundation. Everything else, including subject lines, the host, transition, all of that is just like technically add out on top of those two ingredients. Okay, so there is no need of the subject lines and stuff like that, but we're gonna break down everything. Okay, so if you nail the two things, you have already won. Okay, now let me show you exactly how this works. So the first ingredient is the storytelling. Okay, here you don't tell any story, but simply is that you need a story that relates to a problem your audience faces. For example, like something that happened to you recently, or a frustrating customer interaction, or a weird DM you got, or it can be a mistake you made, or something you observed in your industry or niche. Then after that, it needs to lead to a lesson that naturally connects to what you're selling, like your offer and stuff like that. Now, everyone talks about telling stories, but nobody really reveals to you, okay, where you can get these stories, okay? How can you extract these stories from your daily life, okay, so that you can use it in your messaging? So here is a list of where you can get really interesting stories from your daily life. Okay, so number one is like recent customer interactions, as I said, including your DMs, your emails, your sales calls, any calls that you have gone on. Okay, second thing, it can be something that annoyed or surprised you in your niche or your industry. Third thing, it can be a mistake that you made and learned from, maybe a before and after mistake. Okay, fourth thing is observing someone else doing something wrong and then extracting a lesson from that, right? And then the other thing can be a before and after moment in your own journey or in your customer's journey or something like that. Okay, another one can be an industry drama, okay, or niche drama or controversy that you witnessed. Okay, for example, it can be like the gurus in your space and stuff like that. And it also can be like something counterintuitive you discovered. Okay, there's a lot of things that you can play around with, but those are just like the core things that you can play around with. Okay, but your life is full of these stories, so you just have to start paying attention. Second ingredient is the lesson. Now this is what takes your story from entertaining to value. Why do we include a lesson? Why is it a core ingredient? Because you can't just tell a story and then pitch your offer or pitch what you're selling. Okay, instead you have to zoom out from a specific story and then connect it to a universal truth that your audience cares about, which is the lesson. Okay, so you extract the lesson, you explain why it matters, and then you tell them what to do and what not to do. Okay, and then you position yourself as someone who knows the right way. Okay, you give them a solution, you give them a way out. Okay, or maybe an escape to the problem or the pain point. That's what makes your email worth reading, even if there is no offer at the end. If you have the top core ingredient things, maybe like the story and the lesson, that's it. Even if you don't have an offer at the end, your email is worth reading. Now let me show you the exact structure to put these two ingredients together. Okay, like the exact structure, like email wise. Okay, starting from the subject line to the CTA. Okay, and then off the email. So the step one is your subject line. Okay, So this is where you create curiosity, because you need to make people click the email. So you need to create curiosity using two things. It can be a pattern interrupt or an open loop. So you create an open loop or you create a pattern interrupt so that people can click onto your email. For example, what do I mean? Here are some formulas that you can use. Number one is like adjective. So this is adjective. For example, this is stupid dot dot dot. This is ridiculous dot dot dot. This is embarrassing dot dot dot. Now someone who is reading it, or someone who is opening your email, when they see that subject line, they're gonna be wondering, okay, what does this mean? What is embarrassing? What is stupid? What is ridiculous? And then they're gonna click into the email so that they can understand, or maybe they feed what they wanted to feed. Okay, so another one can be something just happened. For example, it can be like a client just fired me, here is why. In the preview text you can write that. And then the other one can be someone called me a fraud. Can you imagine? Something like that. Okay, another one can be I did something unexpected. For example, you can start with I told a customer to leave me alone, here is why. Or maybe I turned down 10K today. Now it's very out of the it's like it's very surprising that someone just turned down maybe 10K thousand dollars, or maybe someone turned down $100,000. So people are going to be interested into why you turned it down. So the key here is that you never give away the full story in the subject line. So you just have to create the intrigue. Okay, you have to be clear, but don't provide everything into the subject line. Okay, so step two is the hook. Okay, this is 1 to 3 to 4 sentences in your email. Okay, the first 3 to 4 sentences, and this is where that you jump right in into the story. Okay, do not put in some fluff. I don't know, maybe I hope you are having a great day, or maybe your day was great, maybe your weekend was great. Nobody cares about that. Okay, so just jump right in, go straight into the story. Okay, so for example, it can be like something like a few days ago I got this message from this guy named Brad, and then you go like, let me explain what I mean, let me explain what he did. Here is exactly what he did, or something like that. Here's a message he sent me. Okay, or it can be like, last week I had the wildest conversation with a client. People are curious to know, okay, what wild conversation did you have? Okay, so this is, it just helps people like more intrigued into the story. The third thing is the setup. Now this is where you show the initial situation. Now you start explaining, okay, showing and building the tension, going down into the escalation. So this is where the third step, which is the setup, is where like you build the tension before going into the escalation, and showing the reactions and how you both interacted, and where you went wrong, or where it went like he started becoming, and what was very surprising to you. Okay, or something like that. Okay, so the escalation is right there. Okay, is you show, okay, what they did, how you reacted. Okay, when they pushed the father, how did you react? Or when you pushed the father, how did they react? Did they ignore you? What happened? Okay, so here is where you are building momentum. You create a rhythm that pulls people through the story. Okay, for example, I figured this thing out. Okay, and it was like this and like that and like that and like that. Surely this was over, but I couldn't expect more, and something happened, and stuff like that. He started maybe abusing me and telling me like ridiculous words, and I did not like that. And at this point I was thinking, what the hell, like something like that, that builds that tension and just keeps people going and going and going. And then step number 5 is the climax. Now here is where you show what was the specific thing that shocked you. Okay, for example, if in the subject line you say maybe this is ridiculous, here is where you show what was ridiculous. Okay, you're showing exactly what you meant by this is ridiculous in the climax. This is where you show everything and you reveal everything. And then in step number 6, this is where you build now you transition to the lesson. So this is where you transition from the specific story to the universal lesson, and then you just zoom out. So for example, phrases that you can use here is like, now you might be wondering, why am I telling you all this story and blah blah blah, right? You might even say again like, here is why this story, or here is why this matters. So what's my point with all telling you maybe all this story? Here is why. Oh, let me break it down. Oh, let me explain. And then you go into the lesson and tell people what lesson do you have for them. Now there you have to show them why they should care about the story beyond just entertainment. You give them value, okay? And then you introduce the lesson, okay? You now tell them don't do this, maybe you should do this instead of that, do this and do that and do that and do that. And then number 8 is the offer. Now here in the offer, okay, you don't just throw it in the body of the email. Okay, I don't like suggesting that, because if you throw it directly into the body of the email, it will be like you were telling the story so that you can pitch your own offer and just sell them something, right? But if you put it at the end, like for example, you put it in the PS, in the postscript, it's going to be genius. Why? Because um a lot of people are going to be driven by the story, and then when they reach to the end, it's going to feel like natural, like taking out going to the cell, or maybe you offering them maybe a solution or a good way out, the perfect, the best way out, the fastest way out is going to sound more natural and less salesy, okay? And some people just skip straight to the PS. That's why the PS, like putting your offer in the PS, is very crucial, because some people won't read maybe your story because the attention span is very low. Most people will, but some won't read the whole story, so they will jump like right into the end so that they can know, okay, how does this end? I'm just tired of reading this. The attention span is small, is very low, so they skip straight to the PS, and it's going to feel less salesy. Plus they're going to understand, okay, he's offering maybe a solution to what maybe was his pain point, or to what it was like a frustration or a problem to maybe his client. So he's offering me, if I am going through the same situation, then maybe this is the perfect moment, right? And you put some urgency or scarcity, so they take action right away, okay? So you drop a link and then you leave it like that, okay? You just leave it like that, no pressure, no hard sell, just an invitation, because the story and the lesson already did all the heavy lifting for you. So the offer is just the natural next step, right? So that's the framework, the 9 steps: subject line, hook, setup, escalation, climax, the bridge, a lesson, and then the offer into the PS. Every great story-driven email follows this structure. There's no any great story-driven email framework that doesn't follow this structure. And once you see this and understand this, you can never unsee it. So if you need a plug and play template to play around with, you can find it below in the description, so check it out. And here is what you need to understand, okay? So the story has to be entertaining on its own. If it's boring, none of this will work, none of the framework will work. So find something that you can extract a lesson from, and from the lesson you can transition to your offer, to what you're selling. So here's what you need to do next. Go find your own story of that annoying client, maybe the weird DM, maybe the mistake that you made, the before and after transition, maybe what your client was going through, how you made the change. Okay, the moment you realize something, okay, ask those 6 questions which I gave you before. Map out the main parts of your story, like all the reactions that maybe your client was saying, and then you reacted. Maybe if it was a sales call, the back and forth, you can map it out all before writing the story, before writing the full email. And then later on you can extract a lesson and then start writing now the full email, and then make your soft offer in the PS. Then watch what happens, bro. I can tell you that your email will sell in ways that you cannot even imagine. Okay, so that's it. Hope you found value from this. Okay, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you on the next one. Hope this was valuable. Peace.